Ever wondered where curiosity meets cutting-edge science? You've found it. Here at The Great Stories, we transform today's headlines and scientific breakthroughs into captivating narratives that stick with you long after the screen goes dark. No dense jargon, no clickbait promises, just mind-expanding stories told with wit and wonder. From climate solutions hiding in plain sight to technological revolutions reshaping our world, we deliver complex ideas in bite-sized, brain-friendly packages. Join our community of curious minds where trending topics meet scientific insight. The greatest stories aren't just told, they're experienced. The Great Stories. Curious yet? Let's begin. Ever wondered why Earth looks blue from space? It's not just for show. Those glistening water bodies that cover 71% of our planet aren't just beautiful. They're our climate's life support system, and they're in trouble. But here's the twist. That same blue network could be our most powerful ally in the fight against climate change. Not tomorrow, not in some distant future. Right now, this isn't another doom-scrolling climate video that leaves you feeling helpless. I promise, by the end of these next few minutes, you'll not only understand why water conservation might be the climate solution we've been overlooking, but you'll also discover 3 simple actions that actually make a difference. And no, I'm not going to tell you to take shorter showers or turn off the tap while brushing. We're going much bigger than that. What if I told you that the pond in your local park is working harder to protect your future than most climate policies? Or that wetlands capture carbon 4 times more efficiently than forests? Stay with me, because the connection between those puddles, lakes, and oceans and our climate future is about to become crystal clear. Picture this: a vast wetland at dawn, mist hanging low over still waters. Beneath that deceptively calm surface, billions of microscopic organisms are performing climate magic, capturing carbon at rates that would make technology companies green with envy. Did you know that coastal wetlands can sequester carbon at a rate 55 times faster than tropical rainforests? It sounds impossible, but this blue carbon captured by marine ecosystems, is nature's most efficient climate technology. The numbers are staggering. A single acre of seagrass can store about 740 pounds of carbon per year. Multiply that by the world's seagrass meadows, and you're looking at a carbon sink that rivals anything humans have invented. And it's not just seagrass. Mangroves, those twisted, salt-tolerant trees that straddle the boundary between land and sea, pack away carbon in their soils at rates that would make an engineer weep with joy. One study found that mangroves store up to 4 times more carbon per hectare than tropical forests on land. But here's the problem. We're destroying these aquatic superheroes faster than they can save us. Every minute, we lose football fields' worth of wetlands to development. Each lost acre isn't just a disappearing habitat, it's climate potential washing away. Imagine standing on the shore of a lake that's shrinking before your eyes. The waterline recedes year after year, revealing cracked mud where fish once swam. This isn't just a local tragedy, it's a climate time bomb. Let me show you what this looks like. Lake Chad in Africa has shrunk by 90% since the 1960s. Once one of Africa's largest lakes, it's now a shadow of its former self. The satellite images are shocking. Blue water retreating like a tide that never returns. Or consider the Aral Sea, once the 4th largest lake in the world. Soviet irrigation projects diverted its source rivers, and today, ships lie rusting in a desert where waves once crashed. When these water bodies die, they don't just stop capturing carbon, they release what they've stored. When water bodies dry up or become polluted, they release stored carbon back into the atmosphere. That serene lake isn't just dying, it's switching sides in the climate battle, transforming from ally to enemy. But the darkest part? Most people drive past these dying water bodies without a second glance, unaware that our climate future is evaporating with them. The ripple effect. What happens to a water body doesn't stay in that water body. Picture a mountain lake, crystal clear and frigid. As it warms due to climate change, it releases methane, a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. That single lake's warming triggers a cascade that accelerates warming everywhere else. Water bodies don't exist in isolation. They're connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. The health of a small stream in your neighborhood affects ocean currents that regulate global temperature. Let me make this concrete. The Gulf Stream, that massive ocean current that keeps Europe warmer than it should be given its latitude, is showing signs of slowing. Why? Partly because fresh water from melting ice caps is disrupting the delicate balance of temperature and salinity that drives it. If it collapses, a possibility scientists now take seriously, Europe could see temperature drops of 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. These connections create both problems and opportunities. Damage one part of the system, and the effects ripple outward. But restore one part, and the benefits multiply. The water cycle itself is changing as our planet warms. Rainfall patterns become more extreme. Droughts last longer, and when rain does come, it arrives in devastating floods that wash away soil rather than replenishing groundwater. Healthy water bodies act as buffers against these extremes, absorbing floodwaters and slowly releasing them during dry periods. Let's get technical for a moment, because understanding how water bodies capture carbon reveals why they're so valuable. When plants in and around water photosynthesize, they pull carbon dioxide from the air. But unlike forests, which eventually release much of their captured carbon when trees die and decompose, aquatic ecosystems can lock carbon away for thousands of years. How? The magic happens in the soil. In oxygen-poor underwater sediments, decomposition slows to a crawl. Carbon that enters this environment, whether from aquatic plants or washed-in organic matter, stays there. Undisturbed wetland soils have been found with carbon deposits dating back millennia. And it's not just about carbon. Water bodies cool their surroundings through evaporation. They reflect sunlight rather than absorbing it as heat. They support biodiversity that maintains climate-stabilizing ecosystems. In short, they're climate multitaskers in a world that desperately needs solutions that do more than one thing. But there's a clock ticking. Water bodies that have been carbon sinks for centuries can flip to become carbon sources when disturbed or polluted. And once that happens, it's extraordinarily difficult to reverse. Here's where hope breaks through like sunlight on water. Imagine standing on the bank of a restored wetland, where there was once dry, cracked earth. Now birds call and fish leap. This isn't just a pretty scene. It's climate action happening before your eyes. Communities around the world are discovering the power of water body restoration. In China, the restoration of the Loess Plateau has transformed one of the most eroded places on Earth into a water-rich landscape that captures carbon and creates prosperity. In the Netherlands, Room for Rivers projects have turned flood threats into opportunities, creating water systems that protect cities while enhancing biodiversity and carbon capture. These aren't just feel-good stories. They're blueprints for climate resilience. Consider the story of Chilika Lake in India. Overfishing, pollution, and siltation had nearly killed this ancient lagoon. Then a concerted restoration effort reopened the lake's connection to the sea, removed invasive species, and worked with local communities to establish sustainable practices. Today, Chilika is again one of Asia's largest wintering grounds for migratory birds, supports thousands of fishermen, and serves as a massive carbon sink. Or look at the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative in the United States. After decades of industrial pollution and neglect, coordinated efforts have begun to revive these inland seas that contain 21% of the world's surface freshwater. The results aren't just cleaner water. They're healthier communities, stronger economies, and enhanced carbon sequestration. What makes these success stories particularly powerful is that they demonstrate multiple benefits. Unlike some climate solutions that require painful trade-offs, water body restoration creates cascading positive impacts. Better water quality, reduced flood risk, enhanced biodiversity, increased carbon capture, improved human health, and often, economic revitalization. But before we get too comfortable with this good news, we need to confront some uncomfortable truths about how we're treating our water bodies. Climate change itself threatens water systems through altered precipitation patterns, increased evaporation, and rising temperatures. It's a vicious cycle. Damage to water bodies accelerates climate change, which further damages water bodies. Pollution enters the equation as well. Fertilizer runoff creates algal blooms that deplete oxygen and kill aquatic life. Industrial chemicals disrupt delicate ecological balances. Plastic waste chokes waterways and breaks down into microplastics that contaminate the entire food web. And then there's extraction. We're pumping groundwater faster than it can replenish, causing land to sink and wetlands to dry up. We're damming rivers in ways that interrupt natural flows and sediment transport. We're draining wetlands for agriculture and development without recognizing their climate value. All of these threats are intensified by a fundamental problem. We don't value water bodies for their climate services. When economic calculations are made about whether to protect a wetland or build a shopping center, the wetland's carbon sequestration rarely enters the equation. We're making decisions with climate blindfolds on. What you can do: you don't need to be a scientist or politician to be part of this blue revolution. First, become a water body guardian for your local watershed. That could mean joining cleanup efforts, monitoring water quality, or advocating for protection of local wetlands and streams. The pond in your neighborhood needs defenders. Organizations like Waterkeeper Alliance can connect you with local riverkeepers and waterkeepers who are already doing this work. Look for citizen science opportunities that help researchers track water body health. Simple actions like photographing the same shoreline over time or testing water quality can provide valuable data for scientists and policymakers. The more we understand these systems, the better we can protect them. Second, support blue carbon initiatives. Organizations are developing projects that restore mangroves, seagrass meadows, and salt marshes specifically for their carbon capturing abilities. Your support amplifies these efforts. Some companies now offer the opportunity to offset your carbon footprint specifically through blue carbon restoration, a more effective approach than many land-based offsets. Beyond financial support, your voice matters. When development threatens a local wetland, show up at public hearings. When lawmakers consider water protection legislation, call their offices. The economic forces threatening water bodies are powerful, but public pressure can be equally powerful. Third, rethink your relationship with water at home. Capturing rainwater doesn't just save on your water bill. It reduces runoff that damages local water systems. Eliminating lawn chemicals protects groundwater and nearby streams. Creating a rain garden helps filter water before it reaches larger water bodies. And yes, while individual water conservation through shorter showers and efficient appliances won't solve the climate crisis alone, it contributes to a culture that values water as precious rather than expendable. Cultural shifts drive policy shifts. The blue future. Imagine stepping outside 20 years from now. The local river that once ran brown now flows clear. The wetlands at the edge of town buzz with life. The seasonal floods that once threatened homes now spread gently across restored floodplains, recharging groundwater and depositing nutrients rather than causing destruction. And halfway across the world, coastal communities are protected by thriving mangrove forests that capture carbon while breaking storm surges. Island nations find their shorelines expanding rather than contracting as coral reefs recover and seagrass meadows stabilize sediments. This isn't fantasy. It's entirely possible. When we protect and restore water bodies, we're not just fighting climate change. We're creating a world that's more resilient, more beautiful, and more alive. The tools already exist. Restoration techniques have been refined through decades of trial and error. Policies that work have been identified. Economic models that value ecosystem services have been developed. What's needed now is the will to deploy these solutions at scale. The blue parts of our planet have always sustained us. Now it's our turn to return the favor. And in doing so, we might just discover that the solution to our greatest challenge has been reflecting the sky back at us all along. Remember, in a world where climate news often leaves us feeling powerless, water conservation offers something rare and precious. Hope you can hold in your hands, as tangible as the water that flows through them. Because in the end, saving our water isn't just about saving our climate. It's about saving ourselves.